Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another X-Men comic spoiler review. And today I'll be covering Domino. Uh, need to add in some, we desperately need to add in some female X-Men characters. And yeah, sure, she technically was on more like X-Force, not the specific X-Men, but I want to counter regardless. Also, because I don't care what you say, Zazie Beetz made this character like a black woman, so I always just view her as a black woman, despite her pigmentation. So, Zazie Beetz. Yeah, before we get into it, I'd like to let you guys know you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. If you haven't already, follow me on my Twitter at talkativecarl. Of course, you can always check out my stuff live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/talkativecarl, where I'm going through a lot of like spoiler reviews for comics, movies, TV shows, or just general topics. Check out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/talkativecarl. If you have a certain request for a review, you can check out the you can become a patron, and you can put in a certain request, and first party members get first viewing. So before we continue, I want to lay down the powers of Domino, aka Nina Thurman. So, in case you don't know, Domino has luck-based powers, as mentioned in this 10-issue series. A character named Longshot, and Black Cat are the most prominent luck-based power characters in the Marvel Universe. Now, Domino is immune with the ability to subliminally and psionically initiate random kinetic phenomena that affect probability in her favor by making improbable but not impossible things to occur within her line of sight, thus causing her to have good luck and her opponents to have bad luck. This phenomenon can be anything from an enemy's equipment failure to hitting just the right switch with a stray shot to shut down an overloading nuclear reactor. The full extent of her powers is still unknown. This unconsciously controlled talent is triggered when she is in a stressful situation, such as fighting or escaping. This effect constantly emanates from her body at all times and is completely subconscious. However, it is also largely participatory in order for the luck to take effect. Domino herself must engage in an action whose chance she can affect. For example, if Domino were to stand before a hail of bullets, she will be shot. Instead, she must take an action in an attempt to avoid gunfire. She would miraculously bob and weave just right to avoid every single shot. Normally, Domino cannot constantly control her ability, and the only way to activate it is to put herself in a position in which she could be harmed. She was practicing the cognitive control over her ability for years, and recently has shown the result of this training when she caused a lightning bolt to hit 2 sentinels. Enhanced agility and reflexes. As a byproduct of her probability abilities, Domino's cerebral cortex emits a current of bioelectric pulse down her spine to instinctively guide her movements during such actions, which has the added effect of augmenting her natural reflexes and agility to near superhuman levels. Master markswoman, assassin, martial artist, expert acrobat. Weaknesses: electrophobia. Domino has a crippling fear of chickens. Well, there's people there's afraid of pigeons, so I can't really knock her. She's skilled in various forms of firearms and knives. Domino, fun fact that Domino's real name was eventually revealed as Nina Thurman. For a long time, she was just called Beatrice, a name that was a play on her luck powers, as Beatrice is derived from beatus, the Latin word for luck, lucky. If Domino was on a desert island, the piece of music she would pick would be Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. Weird fact, but there it is. Okay. Domino, written by Gail Simone and art by David Baldion. Now, the first 6 issues I remember reading, because that's pretty much the main crux of the story is. Everything else seems a little bit extra in my opinion, which personally I think it was not. The extra 4 issues, which is kind of like 2 different adventures, but they coincide with each other. Personally, I don't think they're necessary. But I will cover them regardless. They're only like 4 issues, so I might as well just get them over with. But this is my second time technically reading the first 6 issues. The last 4 I probably did not finish up at that time when this was coming out years ago. But I noticed this was coming out. I was like, oh, okay, let me do, because I think it was like a fair bit around the time when or probably a little bit after Deadpool 2 came out, and I'm like, okay, I need, let's get a jump on Domino, because it's like, Domino's been around. She had like a few stories here and there to her name, but it's like, okay, this is a good jumping on point if you want to get to know about Domino. And here she's like in her own little team that she leads. It's like triple lady team up with Diamondback and this character called Outlaw that I'm not really familiar with. Outlaw is some kind of like, Texan girl with a mutant ability, super strength. Kind of basic. But she is. You think like Rogue is Southern? This girl is super Southern, like molasses on a cowpoke Southern. And then you got Diamondback, which I know about Diamondback, but I'm not really totally familiar with her power set. Because I know she used to be a bad guy, and she dated Captain America for a little bit, and that's about it. Let's just very quickly, let's see, Rachel Layton, that's her name. Let's go ahead with the see what like our powers is. She doesn't have any powers. And she is like an Olympic level athlete. Expert combatant, expert thrower of knives and sharp objects. She can understand Egyptian language and communicate it, albeit not fluently. Diamondback wields an undisclosed number of 4-inch long, elongated diamond-shaped throwing spikes. She refers to these weapons as diamonds, even though they are not made of actual diamond, which would be far too expensive for use. Stored in her boots, gloves, earrings, and anywhere else on her costume, these diamonds are needle sharp and sometimes filled with various substances. Known diamonds in her arsenal have contained a lethal, fast-acting snake venom-derived poison, and the impact detonated explosives with the concussive force of 10 pounds of TNT, a highly corrosive concentrated hydrochloric acid, tear gas, and fast-acting sleep-inducing narcotic. At least one set of these diamonds were designed by the Tinkerer. A diamond bag was transfused with drug-tainted blood from Captain America that contained the super soldier serum, that gave her enhanced abilities and an unstable mania for a time. The mania faded in a matter of months, but whether the serum effects remain is unknown. So she's very skilled, but she's, just human, but, very skilled human. Don't know when she made a flip from bad guy to a bad girl to good, the good side. Had to be sometime after the Civil War situation. Uh, so yeah, it was like sometime after the Civil War situation. Yep. Anywho, those are the three people that's this is the two people who are teaming up with following Domino, and like they're her bestest friends. So these three ladies go on a job to rescue this supposed hostage. Now they're unfamiliar who their employer was, and it turns out it was like a trap laid by this person named Topaz, who's also working with this guy. The heck is that guy's name? I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he later called himself Prototype. But they end up finding out this supposed hostage was pretty much just like bait, or at least trying to like attempt to catch Domino by surprise and hurt her. He's pretty much looking like some rinky-dink man back who doesn't really do much. He just wear us out, does one sweep of the backhand against Domino, but that's about it. He turns into like a pitiful little dude after the fight, which of course he backed down quickly, knowing that the situation isn't in his favor. But his heart wasn't in it in the first place. But he lets them know that he was being used by this person called Topaz, who hired them. This Topaz is gunning for Domino. But Domino set that aside for now, because Outlaw and Outlaw's name Inez and Rachel set up like a surprise party for Domino. It's a birthday, and here you see like a lot of X-Men members, some mercenaries, like Deadpool shows up, and then Amadeus Cho, who at this point in time is supposed to be like the new Hulk or totally awesome Hulk. I read a little bit of stuff. It wasn't my jam. It's not like I didn't care for the character, but I don't know. When I saw certain images of totally awesome Hulk at the time. It seems like, God, this kid's like totally full of himself, and he's just like a Hulk fanboy to me. I never got into Amadeus Cho, and it was at a time where, like, I don't know, he was doing some kind of another blood transfusion situation or something. He transferred some Hulk Bruce's like gamma stuff into him because, you know, Bruce, something was wrong with him, so, you know, he figured the world still needed a Hulk, so he took it upon himself to be like the replacement Hulk, but more in control, like She-Hulk. He had like a doofus looking hairstyle at that time where it's kind of like a spit curl thing, and he was trying to, you know, use his physique to hit on women. It was like a whole thing. I did not care for it. But at this point in time, that's who the Hulk is. And I don't know how or when he befriended Domino, but he's friends with Domino. But this is like, you know, at first, you know, Domino is having fun, but then, like, you know, she got a few drinks in her, then, like, you know, bad memory starts rushing to her head about her time being experimented on because she was a mutant. It was kind of, she later got rescued by her mother, but it was not that too dissimilar to the situation with, like, Wolverine, only it happened to her at a younger age. Then all of a sudden, Topaz and Prototype, like I said, I forgot his doggone name, show up in her freaking bedroom while she just got her negligees on, and Topaz just rushes in and starts stomping the heck out of Domino, and somehow, because she's, you know, both of these people are mutants, but Topaz's ability is that she can flip a person's power. Like if the person has like a superpower, she can flip it on and off, and not just, you know, flipping it on, but it's kind of like turn it to the extreme. Not 100% sure if it works only on mutants. I think it only works on mutants, but she's able to turn off Rachel's powers, so she can't really alter the situation in her favor. She just promotes normal at this point, even though she can still able to like use her gunmanship and, you know, can able to throw her hands, but she called it like a heavy disadvantage. And then Topaz ended up tossing her out the freaking window, but it, you know, they don't kill her. They want her to suffer because this guy's power is intrinsically tied to Domino. We learn why later, but anytime she uses her gifts, well, in the past, anytime like he gets, you know, hurt or something happens to him, it only increases her power. It's very like they don't like really, I'm pretty sure they, you know, they definitely talk about it, but it's never like you don't fully get how is this specifically tied to one another, where her luck favors her, but it, you know, naturally it shouldn't, and all that negative stuff that should have happened impacts him. That's why he, you know, it's decrepit and everything like that. So I'm not sure when it's turned off or when, yeah, like it's never fully explained, like wow, like, you know, something like, you know, it, you know, like something how like the reverse happens where he's starting to get younger and stronger when she like when Domino's in danger, I guess. I'm not sure. It's like it's very confusing. But all you need to know is that now, like, because of her suffering, it's somehow making him better. But they want to make Domino suffer, you know, because they blame her for what's happening to him, what happened to him. So Topaz switched back on her powers, and luckily, out of nowhere, Spider-Man shows up, even though they're in San Francisco, because Spider-Man's on some other adventure that causes him to be in San Francisco at this point. So he manages to swing in and catches her in the nick of time. While the other party guest sees this old man and Topaz, and like, yeah, he's, you know, the old man's like, well, you guys wouldn't do this. You guys are heroes. And Deadpool's like, we're not the Avengers. We will stomp you and kill you. And it's like, you know, that's, and a lot of us here, you know, are mercenaries, and we're good friends with the person you just tossed out the window. And if she's not vertical, you're gonna have a very bad day. But his power allow him to, like, yeah, his own mutant ability to just essentially teleport. Don't know why he didn't do that initially before they got found out by these party guests. Well, because I guess he was old and weak, but it's like the spark starting to flip on. But it was never really, because you later learn about his past, it's never really kind of shown that he had this kind of innate ability to teleport. But I guess it haven't manifested itself just yet. But during this whole, you know, pseudo Weapon X thing, you see this kid get experimented on, and it mentions that it's like somehow tied to Domino's powers, but his powers haven't manifested yet. And it doesn't look like she was 13 yet, because it looked like she was like at least 10 or 11 at the most. So that part, extremely confusing to me. So Domino's kind of down on herself because, you know, I guess she was embarrassed. She's, you know, because she always put like a front like she's, you know, like the tough badass, but, you know, she's, you know, she doesn't feel like she, like, outside Diamondback and Outlaw, she doesn't feel like she truly, like, have any friends, or, like, you know, she ever made any kind of solid, you know, friends and people look out for her like that, and she always felt like she was, like, alone. So you kind of feel for Domino in here, because the kind of past he had, even though, you know, people like Deadpool and Wolverine, you should definitely be best friends with these guys, because they probably know way more about what you're going through than anybody else, honestly, because they've both been experimented on like you. The only difference is you were experimenting on at a younger age, while they were in their adulthoods when that happened to them. But she wanted to, for a little while, she wanted, you know, Amadeus to tag along with her, because somehow these guys were able to track her down when it shouldn't have been possible, like to the exact pinpoint of her bedroom. But you later find out that somehow, some way, they put some kind of tracker in her skin. And once again, you know, how did that happen? Because initially I was like, okay, maybe because that first tussle in her bedroom, they somehow at some point implanted some kind of tracker. But A, you don't see that, and B, they still tracked her down in her exact bedroom. Not even just in the building, it was in her bedroom. So it was somehow some point, but before that it happened. Now you can also argue maybe the lame Man-Bat dude who was later like Alderkirk, or or something. Just call him Al. Who turns into their pseudo. They felt sorry for him, so they turned him in his pseudo kind of Jarvis. So I think he at some point had, maybe he implemented, because like towards the tail end of this arc, it's later discovered that he knew about this tracker implemented inside her, underneath her skin, but did he implant it somehow at some point? Don't know. But I want to keep this guy around. Sure, it's like she forgive him and everything like that, because he kind of got snivelly little punk a bit. But it's like, yeah, you kept this whole thing to yourself. I won't hurt you, but dude, I don't want you in my presence no more. That kind of thing. So Domino tasked Amadeus to like tag along with them on their next gig, where they gotta go and help out this. They've been hired by this like riverboat rich dude, but this dude on his fancy riverboat casino, because he thinks he's about to get robbed. So they there for like kind of like protection and everything like that. And Domino wants Amadeus Cho to, because she suspects that since only Inez and Rachel, the only other two that know about her whereabouts, especially during that first gig where they met Al, she's starting to suspect her closest friends, but leaning more towards Diamondback because of her, villain past. But then all of a sudden, while they doing a sweep of the casino, her powers are ramped up. So everybody in her vicinity are just getting lucky in, all the the gambling that they're doing. Like people's winning like 60 million, 50 million, 100 million, 75,000, all this stuff. Everybody's just winning like crazy, and her friends tell like Domino, it's like, you gotta tone it down. It's like, I can't control it. Her ability is primarily kind of passive, and is primarily kind of focused on her than it is for like an outward thing she can pass on to other people. Unless maybe she has to physically be holding on to somebody as she's making an action, and by physical contact, whoever she's like in physical contact with reap the benefits of her luck. But nothing like this. And she, for first few issues, she points out about how her powers work. As she describes it, where it's like sometimes it can feel like a mouse crawling on her back. Sometimes it can feel like a rat, digging into her flesh. It's like it can, because depending on the situation, because she might get out of a scuffle, like she has to jump out with like some group of goons, or let's say like Hydra is like a bunch of Hydra goons chasing after her, and she has to jump out the window. She'll jump out the window, and some crazy shenanigans allow her to land safely on the ground on some truck filled with mattresses or something. But she still would probably get hurt, like maybe like an arm might be sprained. That's the mouse. And other times she can be alive, but she might still have several broken bones. That's the rat. But it's chaos. It's chaos theory kind of situation. It's just chaotic for other people, but better for her. So soon realize that Topaz and Prototype has tracked her down on this riverboat. And to truly make her suffer, and also increase the health of Prototype and his powers, they planted a bomb on her friend's boat and leading her to believe that they killed her friends. And the resulting blowback from the explosion caused her to knock her out, and she starts remembering her, shady past, where this wannabe Dr. Kilbrew or Cornelius, whoever that bald guy was that put adamantium in Wolverine's body, this low rant version who turns out to be Topaz's father, who hates mutants and been experimenting on them, and to try to test out or force Nina, little Nina, to try to force her powers to work, and tries to very gaslighting a bit. But it's like, oh, here's your birthday. And of course, Nina been into this, inside this facility for so long, she doesn't know when her birthday is. And then she doesn't even know what Christmas is, because he later tried to give her as a present a pet cat that she named Christmas, because she overheard one of the nurses singing about, like, it's a white Christmas. So she thought, oh, Christmas sounds very pretty, so I'll just name this cat Christmas. And then of course this guy talking about, like, pulls out a little taser, and it's like, this is on like the low setting now. Of course he puts it on her hand, and she doesn't yell, scream, she doesn't give him the satisfaction. But he says, well, he'll come back and we'll try on like a higher setting kind of situation. Dude's really sadistic. But you learn that, surprise, her friends didn't die. Amadeus transformed at the proper time and saved them all. But he later tells Nina that Diamondback spotted the explosive before anybody. And of course, none of my investigations prove whether or not she was, the person who planted it in the first place. And then, Nina's also worried about her powers going out of whack, and it's not in her control anymore. Or it was never in her control, but the fact that Topaz is able to manipulate it the way she's doing, because of her powers, she needs to be able to regain her powers to better work in her favor and not be so easily manipulated. So Amadeus suggested, I know a guy. It's a very MCU thing to say, like, I know a guy. So she ends up going to Hong Kong to meet up with Shang-Chi, the expert martial artist in Marvel Universe. Probably easily tied, if not slightly, well, it's hard to say, because people say, like, oh, Shang-Chi's better, and it's like, I don't know, like, are y'all really saying that because you just dislike Iron Fist because the TV show was so whack? But Iron Fist for the longest time was like the best martial artist in the Marvel Universe, and he should know the exact same amount of skill as Shang-Chi does. The only edge that he has over Shang-Chi is the immortal Iron Fist. So I like to say, technically, that makes Iron Fist better than Shang-Chi, just by that one caveat. But without that, I say it better slight heirs to Shang-Chi's favor. Another flashback where you see, like, Nina's powers really take effect as a little kid, where while the Topaz's father is holding out that taser still lit, and the other doctor, who's allergic to cats, pick it up, try to threaten it in order to get Nina to follow orders and enact her powers on command. And is already technically active. It's just passively active. And the ball, well, they both ball, but the second in command scientist sneezes, his head, tilts forward right into the taser, which electrocutes him and knocks him out and freaks out Topaz's dad. It's like, guards! Restrain this woman. And of course, this guy is, like I said, he's sick and he's gonna be. And this is like not too long before Nina's mother eventually finds her and helps her escape. And all this time, Nina eventually it's very kung fu, like classic kung fu kind of movie, where like the lead character finds this expert in martial arts to teach her about, because he's trying to learn about focus or regaining her focus, and it's like teach her in the ways of martial arts and bettering herself or centering herself or whatever the case might be. Pick your classic kung fu movie is pretty much it. And of course, the whole time while she's going to get trained by him, she's perving on this dude the whole time, literally asking like, "Are you going to train with your shirt off?" Like the privilege of women, because imagine a guy saying like that to like a trained female martial artist. That'd be like so like inappropriate. But it's what it is. I'm just saying, like, it's like, okay, all right, keep it in your pants, Domino. Yeah, he's an attractive dude. It's like, keep it in your freaking pants. Then you learn about the Topaz and her friend Desmond. That was the guy's name, the prototype, Desmond. And of course, Topaz's dad not too pleased with his daughter socializing with mutants, because that's what Desmond is, a mutant. But he didn't realize that his own daughter was a mutant. She kept that to herself and threatened Desmond to stay away from his daughter because he doesn't want mutant scum touching his daughter. That kind of bigotous prejudice. But Shang-Chi and Nina train, and later on you find out from Shang-Chi that if she's focused, she can essentially look at that mouse on her back and actually work with it, or essentially like make that power work in her favor. Because as much of an expert as Shang-Chi is, every time they're sparring, she little by little starts to defend herself very expertly on an unnatural scale from his experience. So she has to essentially center herself, remain calm, because you learn that when she's panicky, the power gets very chaotic. Yes, it works in your favor, but that's how you end up with still like a broken arm or something like that, because it's only like 99% good for you. That 1% is the one that causes you with like a bruise or broken limb. But if you harness it, focus it, it is like detrimental to your enemies. But they let her go out to dancing, just to try to unwind this a little bit, because they've been training for hours. But eventually, because Diamondback and Outlaw really want to help her friend, and they try to put a stop to Topaz's machinations, or Topaz and Desmond's machinations, they get Deadpool to track down where these two's hideout is, which happens to be the abandoned laboratory where her father was running experiments on them. And of course, Deadpool wanted to tag along, but they expressed like, no, this Topaz person can put your powers in overdrive or turn them off completely. And because you still have cancer, it's gonna go rampant on you if she turns your powers off. And because Outlaw, her mutant ability is just super strength and and durability and stuff like that. Very kind of run-of-the-mill kind of power. Even if she, Topaz turns them off, she's still an expert fighter. And Diamondback is only human and an expert combatant in her own right, and has like explosive, like, fake diamonds or whatever, diamond-shaped kind of explosives and throwing daggers. So there's nothing to turn off or augment. So they're reduced to like, fisticuffs. Even though Topaz also got like durable skin, which, that's kind of like, well, you kind of really toss that in my opinion, because, you could have just left it at like, just increasing or shutting off powers. For a moment, they had Diamondback and Outlaw had them on the ropes. But it was once Diamondback left some explosive sneakily at Topaz's feet, caused it to go off. She's knocked unconscious temporarily, and Desmond freaks out because he cares about him. It's like his only friend, and he gives these two their sob story about how like they blame Nina for what the horrific experience they went through. And of course, in this facility, they still had her father is still there, just crusty old man at this point, and he's still like a bigot. And it's like he still considers them monsters, even his own child. And while this is going on, Topaz hired a lot of Shang-Chi's thugs to go attack them and not kill Domino, but try to hurt, make her suffer by hurting the people that she loves, anybody that's near her. So they try to go after Shang-Chi since he just happened to be with her. But during this whole supposed ambush, Shang-Chi reminds Domino, or at least just tell Domino, like, look, just focus. Look, what I want you to do, I want you to give me a glass of water with a lemon wedge, and don't spill a drop. So she ends up just like, taking that in for a minute. But while Outlaw and Diamondback are trying to be sympathetic to Desmond and Topaz's plight, because their anger is misplaced, because it was the father who kind of set this domino in effect, that led to all three of their, Domino, Desmond, and Topaz's situations in this moment in time in their lives. But they didn't want any pity. They just want their revenge on Domino. So as Desmond's trying to teleport him and Topaz out, Outlaw, right before they port, managed to land like a hard hit. This is like practically not all the way, but like practically full, at least force enough before they're completely disappeared, to land a smack on Desmond, which completely like pulverized the side of his face. And by the time they port to Hong Kong, to where Nina is, he ends up dying in the process. which infuriates Topaz to the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna just finish this permanently with Domino. And before, because Diamondback ended up getting hurt by Desmond in this whole fight, before she takes her to the hospital, she takes one of her revolvers, points it at Topaz's father, because he was the catalyst to all this, and just blows him away. So Nina just takes a nice leisurely stroll, beelines to the counter to make her martial arts master a drink. While he's just hanging back, standing in the middle of the dance floor, all these Shang-Chi rogues are trying to attack her, but she just casually just moves ever so slightly, picks up like a platter, tosses in the air. Everybody just attacking each other, things hitting on themselves on the heads, and all this stuff is just like going wonky for them. And she just strolls towards the counter and makes the drink and brings it to her master. And everybody else that's not hurt are just standing there and backing the heck away. And Shang-Chi just replies like, yeah, why don't you guys pick up who's hurt and take them to the nearest hospital, and don't mess with her. Don't come after us, because I will leave her with you. It was a very badass moment. But then, as Shang-Chi is explaining about the fact that she just need to be centered and calm, then she'll have better handle on her abilities, so that way it would take back her power from Topaz, who's been manipulating it. Topaz shows up, says like, Desmond's died and I blame you. And so these two just have at it. And Domino's like, I'm not gonna be, because Topaz is like astonished the fact that she's still powering through her manipulation of her powers, and still like she's wrestling that power from Topaz that she never did before. And so Domino is just like laying a smackdown on Topaz. And all of a sudden, Diamondback and Outlaw shows up, crashes the car right into Topaz, mortally wounding her. Domino takes Outlaw's revolvers, points it at Topaz, who says like, you can spare me, but I will not stop coming for you. I will keep coming for you. And Shang-Chi is trying to let Domino know, like, hey, that's what she wants. Do not do this, because it's going to affect you in the end. Trying to it's better for you to spare her life. Don't do it for her, do it for yourself. But Domino realistically knows, this woman will not stop coming after her or anybody she cares about just to make her hurt. She won't stop. So, like in the first Deadpool movie, she, just acknowledges like, look, I'm no hero. I'm going to do what's necessary to put a stop to this villain. And she empties the rounds into her body. And this disappoints Shang-Chi. He politely says like, after what you did, like, I'm not going to train you anymore. And never ask me again. And it was kind of bums her out, because she was kind of hoping to have some kind of relationship with Shang-Chi. Because she was like, they clearly was into each other, but, more so her. But he just can't abide by the kind of things that she does. So the three girls go back to the riverboat and wait for the next adventure. which comes in the form of an exiled Wakandan named Shaquana or Shawnquana, who is or used to be a general for the Wakandans, but she was exiled because she had this mystical ability. It's not mutant, but a more mystical nature where she can essentially see like bad outcomes, and they know who, and she knows who will be the responsible party in this. So this not being like, because she constantly, her powers landed her in trouble with like the Wakandans, where she always seems like everybody outcome and everybody's an enemy kind of thing. Is like they can't deal with that no more. So it's like, okay, we can't have you in here because like every little thing almost seems like a potential danger. You can't live like that. She wants to. It's like because like there's two people, in this, 4-part arc that she's like hiring Nina and her friends to deal with because they're going to be the catalyst to a more dangerous outcomes. It'll be Morbius in the first 2-parter, and then Longshot in the second 2-parter. We know about Morbius, the living vampire, but Longshot is an Mojo world inhabitant who also has luck-based powers, who Nina, interacted with, on a few occasions, but know that their powers end up canceling each other out, which is, not fortuitous, pardon the pun, for them to be in the same, to be next to each other. Same thing with Black Cat. These two cannot be in the same proximity because their powers will cancel each other out, and that'll be detrimental to them. So, of course, Shaquana hires them to get this box in Norway, but they tell like, do not look inside. And of course, they end up looking inside as Michael Morbius. And while they're in Norway, these three are fighting off these vampiresses who are dressed in bridal gowns and one wedding dress. Turns out these natural vampires attacked this wedding, turn a few of them into vampires because this big fat underwater vampire is planning on unleashing this new strain of vampiric viruses taken from Michael Morbius, because they realize if natural vampires feed off of Morbius and then feed off of normal people, they turn into some kind of uber vampires, but they don't stick around long. They end up, dying themselves off. But in all the while, they'll still be feeding. And the more people they turn, the more their population grows. And then, as estimated, like within 14 months, nearly all of the human population will be wiped from the planet. And that's what Shaquana foresaw in her vision. It's very kind of Minority Report. And this devastating outbreak. But her solution, if she sees somebody like Morbius being the catalyst, her mind's eye is like, okay, kill this person. That way it'll neutralize the threat. But once they see like, Morbius isn't like a total danger, they're like, no, they need to figure out a different way. because it's not fair to him when he's being used to start this, plot. So when Morbius wakes up and they're in a hotel and he's weak, and before he can elaborate more, he needs to replenish his strength. So Domino volunteers for him to bite into her to drain a little bit of blood so he can push forward and be able to not be so weak. But I don't know why you need him to bite into your neck. You could just offer your arms and drink the blood from the wrist, and that would have been sufficient. But you gotta get this dramatic kind of art panel. Which, by the way, I want to mention about the art here. I think the artist, because when I was reading this comic, it reminded me of a Harley Quinn comic run that I read a little bit of long prior to this. And it's like very similar stuff that I've seen from most Harley Quinn solo runs, where it's like, okay, this person must have, went over to DC and worked on a few Harley Quinn stuff, because it's like there's a lot of art panels kind of really bring some moments back from that. I'm not exactly sure or remember which Harley Quinn one, but if you look up like the artist, I'm pretty sure they did some work on some Harley Quinn, because I remember some Harley Quinn looking like this. And not, I don't know, I don't want to use the word bubbly, but there's some kind of like flubberiness to the certain the flow of the drawings, like you see in the cheeks and the lips and things like that. It's very like gooey, rubbery type of kind of flow to it. And it's not like a bad art. I dig this art fine, but it's like, it probably got to work on a specific type of character that you're talking about. I think it works for somebody like Domino and Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn can play like a bubbly kind of attitude. Domino, normally she's more like a hard-edged type of character, whereas kind of like not too dissimilar to something like Cable, depending on the writer, I guess. But here she's, very, I don't want to say it's like very Harley Quinn, but it's very like, because she's not breaking the fourth wall or making goofy like statements, but she's like a little more carefree and self-reflective. But she, when need be, she turns on that hard edge when she has to, especially when her friends are in danger. And Morbius breaks down the situation to them, and about this virus that these vampires are planning on spreading. And of course, Nina is like, thank you for like siding with humanity on this one. And Morbius has to tell them the blatant truth. Like, look, I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my black heart here. Like, if humanity gets wiped out, I won't have nothing to feed on and I will die. This is self-preservation at best. And, they're taken aback by that statement, but it's honest. It's mutual beneficial for them. But eventually they go to Barcelona because, Morbius is able to like track down this particular vampire that's been like manipulating the machinations behind the scenes, because I guess he left a stake on these other vampires that went after him, because he was like secure in his coffin by these vampire hunters. Don't know why they didn't just outright kill him, but when they had the chance. But he was chained to the coffin and everything like that, and they even siphoned off the blood. keeping him weak so he won't retaliate. So once they eventually track down this creature, Domino used some explosive diamonds from Rachel to shove down this guy's gullet and blow him up, destroying him. And they come to the surface, being meted by a rando vampire hunter, but he had a job to do. Regardless of what Morbius did, he's still technically a vampire and he has to take him out. Nina knocks out the vampire hunter and just tells Morbius, look, we're even now, so you just go. Just go. So he flies away. Even though it's sunny out here and Morbius he's a living vampire, so he's not affected by daylight, but he should be, still relatively weak. But then in the next two-part arc is when Shaquana is giving Nina and the others another mission, and this time they had to carry out to the letter and take out Longshot because he is destined to cause the utter devastation of the superhero community and the mutants, because Mojo will come to Earth and turn it into a massive, worldwide entertainment network situation. We're causing any and everybody to attack, battle each other to the death for entertainment purposes. Just everything is ratings, despite, whoever detriment to whoever's health. Turns out that you learn later that Mojo's manipulating Longshot because he is getting some kind of a weird allergic reaction. Like I said, that's super random and makes no sense. He's interacted with humanity plenty of times, never contracted any type of allergy or pathogen that will result for him, his luck powers to go into overdrive and causing utter devastation to any and everybody in his vicinity that Mojo's gonna, future Mojo will exploit. So Aquana's solution is to take out Longshot immediately, so Mojo has nobody to use to manipulate events that will cause Earth's utter devastation for the entertainment of Mojo and the galaxy worldwide. Nina managed to get to Longshot, and I guess Mojo was I don't know if he was some sort of mind control or something like that. He was some golden curvy thing that was attached to him that forced him to see Mojo everywhere he is. And because Longshot does not like Mojo, and he often have rebellions against him. But they managed to get him to regain control, but he's still sick. So they traveled to, all of them end up traveling to Mojo World. They managed to acquire some weapons, fight off slavers, and get Longshot, the medical need to, the hospitalization he needs to cure him of this allergy, so that way his powers won't go out of whack and cause damage to everybody on the outside in. And this also kind of teaches Shaquana that there's always other ways than just outright killing who you think is gonna be a problem, because more often than not, they're unaware of the situation that will lead to some kind of devastation in the future. So you always can figure out a way to other solutions than outright killing. And she learned that, because she's such a hard-nosed type of woman, to learn to soften up a bit and understand what everybody else sees in Longshot, that he is just like a awfully nice man. The probably the nicest you ever meet. And that isn't by accident, because you look up Longshot's powers, his powers are intrinsically tied to his positivity. He's always a good person because he is a good person, but if he's not, if he's like doing something selfish, or like, you know, if he's, you know, actively hurting somebody, you know, like if he's holding like a gun to a child's head or something like that, his powers would negatively feedback, causing him to get bad luck and not good luck. So it's very important for him to always be positive, always be good, so for his powers to always work in his favor. So they end up saving the day, and you know, Nina, Diamondback, and Outlaw go back to the riverboat, where they're finally relaxing from their, you know, crazy adventure that they've been on. And that is Domino, you know, 10-issue run. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I don't think the last 4 issues were really needed. They could have just kept it at 6 issues. The last stuff seemed padded somehow. But I still freaking enjoy this. It's a really good Domino story. And you can see like her powers, you know, how it works, and, you know, to like a more modernized understanding of how it works. But yeah, let me know what you think of Domino in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. And also, I will be, the next X-Men comic that I'll be covering will be the solo issue of Emma Frost. So look forward to that. And the next X-Men is also, I will be covering like later on in the week, season 2 of X-Men Evolution, as well as Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull this Thursday. Then Saturday I'll be covering the new Indiana Jones to wrap up Father's Day movie month. So anyway, I will see you all a little bit later as I'll go back into FF16. Yeah, so look forward to that, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.